Good evening. Welcome to PTV News Tonight. Vice President Sara Duterte outdoes herself for every inane remark on her impeachment, which she chooses to ignore, but then runs her mouth in front of the press for media mileage. Her latest statement against the government to practice transparency and accountability egregiously flies in the face of her continued no-show in her own impeachment trial. Our Kenneth Paciente tells us more.
The palace pushed back against Vice President Sara Duterte's statement that the government should stop engaging in politics. The palace said the Vice President should instead call out her allies, accusing them of engaging in politics and spreading fake news to discredit the Marcos administration. The palace also rejected the Vice President's remark that calls for transparency and accountability should come to an end. The palace said there is no reason to stop promoting transparency and accountability, stressing that these are part of every public servant's duty. It also said the Vice President has the obligation to answer the allegations against her, adding that concealing the truth would be a betrayal of public trust. The palace maintains there is no politicking involved in the impeachment trial, saying the process is mandated by the Constitution. The palace also said President Marcos Jr. remains focused on peace, order, and national development, while claiming the Vice President has frequently been on vacation or abroad. It also questioned what contribution the Vice President has made to the country's peace, order, and development. The palace also responded to Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte's claim that the administration is abusing its powers to go after its critics, including his sister, who is facing an impeachment trial. The palace insists the current administration exercises its powers properly and in accordance with the law, unlike in previous periods. The palace cited the incident in which then Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte punched a sheriff, saying it was an example of abuse of power. The palace also said the government should not be faulted for acting against those accused of violating the law. It added that the Vice President should directly answer the allegation against her instead of claiming she is being politically targeted. Kenneth Paciente for The Nation.
The hard-fought victory by the Philippine government in the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling upholding our claims over China and the disputed maritime territories in the West Philippine Sea is one the entire country should hail and cherish. And today, the president reiterated his government's unyielding commitment to the country's rightful claim, backed up by the rule of law, which China time and again refuses to accept. Clazel Pardilla has all the details live.
Charles President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. attended a diplomatic reception tonight to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the 2016 Arbitral Award. This ruling invalidated China's 9-9 claims and asserted the Philippines' maritime entitlements in the West Philippine Sea. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. reaffirmed the Philippines' commitment to a rules-based international order. During a diplomatic reception marking the 10th anniversary of the 2016 South China Sea Arbitral Award, the chief executive said the landmark ruling proved that disputes between the nations should be resolved through international law, not through coercion or the use of force.
13 years ago, when the Philippines initiated these arbitration proceedings, we stood before the world to assert a timeless, universal principle that disputes between nations must be resolved not through coercion, not through the threat or use of force, but through peaceful means and the rule of law.
The Philippines filed the case in 2013 after China expanded its activities and asserted its 9-9 claim in the West Philippine Sea, affecting the country's maritime rights and driving Filipino fisher folk away from their traditional fishing grounds. President Marcos said the 2016 Arbitral Award is not only a legal victory, but also a means of protecting the livelihoods of Filipino fisher folk and coastal communities.
We hold a simple but unwavering conviction. The South China Sea must never be an arena of conflict. It must remain a sea of peace, cooperation, and connectivity. a body of water that sustains livelihoods, fosters trade, protects marine biodiversity, and unites rather than divides our nations.
The president reiterated that the Philippines will remain steadfast in upholding the UN Charter, UNCLOS, and a rules-based international order. He also thanked the country's international partners for supporting the peaceful resolution of maritime disputes. President Marcos called for continued cooperation to safeguard the oceans and promote lasting peace. Charms, the latest Octa research survey shows that 66% of Filipinos support the administration's response to the West Philippine Sea dispute. Dr. Guido David said that the administration should continue what it has been doing. He also encouraged the government to take a more proactive approach in protecting our territorial waters. And that's the latest, Charms.
Many thanks, Clazel Pardilia. In other news, Hurricane Bavi, aka Typhoon Sarah, once a monster super typhoon, has been downgraded to mere typhoon status and has yet to make landfall in Batanes. But the effects of her gale force winds and driving rain have put residents of two Cagayan province towns on edge, as weather experts keep a close eye on her movement. Our Elijah Canlas sums up all the details in this report.
The situation in Cagayan province is being closely monitored due to the threat of Typhoon Inday, which was last spotted east of Itbay at Batanes. Although the typhoon remains at sea, its effects are heavily felt in the town of Santa Ana and Gonzaga in mainland Cagayan, which are now under tropical cyclone wind signal number 2. Due to very high and rough waves recorded along Gonzaga coastline, authorities strongly advise residents and fishermen to avoid venturing out to sea. Gonzaga and neighboring Santa Ana are experiencing strong wind gusts and heavy rain, leading to zero visibility along the coastline. Local governments and national agencies immediately implemented reinforcements to address the typhoon's widespread sectoral impacts. The latest Philippine Coast Guard report states that 58 ports nationwide are affected, stranding a total of 789 passengers, truck drivers, and cargo helpers. Additionally, 249 rolling cargoes, 13 vessels, and 33 motor bankas are stranded, while 158 vessels and 145 motor bankas were forced to take shelter due to harsh weather. Due to the automatic no-sail policy of the PCG and Marina, trips of large shipping lines are officially cancelled across various port management offices nationwide. Suspended voyage included Roro, Fast Trap, and maritime trips in PMO Batangas, Mindoro, Marinduque, Quezon, Masbate, and the Bicol region. Trip operations are also cancelled in PMO Bohol, Palawan, Negros Oriental, Panay, Guimaras, and the entire Leyte and Samar. Local emergency responders and the DSWD are deployed to distribute relief boxes to stranded passengers, conduct preemptive evacuations, and aid affected families. Those in need of immediate rescue or assistance may call the official government emergency hotlines listed on the screen. Elijah Canlas for The Nation.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has deployed flood barriers to prevent water overflow in critical areas in anticipation of heavy rainfall in Metro Manila. This measure has been implemented along Dr. A. Santos Avenue in Barangay San Dionisio, Parañaque City, and near Gate 4 of Camp Aguinaldo to protect major thoroughfares like EDSA from potential flooding. The MMDA officially activated its Emergency Operations Center this morning to monitor and address the impact of the expected weather conditions across Metro Manila and parts of northern Luzon, with rescue and emergency response assets on standby, ready to mobilize for any incidences as the agency continues its monitoring across the region. In other news, Ulat Bayan expressed concern on the number of people paying Senator Rodante Marcoleta while in confinement and recuperation at the Philippine General Hospital. But the CIDG and PNP assuaged the graft court's concern with the assurance only 2 visitors at a time are permitted to see Marcoleta, and a strict face mask rule also in effect. The full story from Ryan Lesigas.
The Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group explained why Senator Rodante Marcoleta, who is currently under hospital arrest at the PNP General Hospital, has been receiving a series of visitors. According to CIDG NCR Chief Police Colonel John Giagi, the visits were granted upon the senator's personal request.
So again, sa dinami-dami ng gustong bumisita, dalawa lang ang pinayagan at sila lang yung nakapasok, walang entourage at the same time at a limited time. Ito ay personal request ni Senator Marcoleta na gusto niyang bumisita sa kanya aside from his legal yung mga attorneys niya. Okay? Again, sinabi kanina, bakit daw hindi naka-face mask? Hindi po naka-face mask sa labas, kaso pagpasok niya, syempre po, naka-face mask po yun. Okay. To give clarification.
Giagi made a statement after the Sandigan Bayan questioned the continuous visits to the lawmaker despite his ongoing treatment for mild pneumonia.
Kung hindi pa po natitreat yung mild pneumonia niya, pwede naman. Wala naman po problema tayo doon. Kaya lang kasi, kung sa estado ni Sir, consider natin yung age niya, syempre mababa na po yung immune system niya kumpara po sa mas bata sa kanya. So mas advice namin na isolate po siya. So yun po. Lalo na ngayon, di ba po merong sa news, merong increasing cases of COVID. So kailangan po nating bantayan. 72 na po si Senator. Yeah, oo, kung sa marami po. So hindi po, kung ako po yun, hindi ko advice na isama siya.
Following the incident, Giagi said they will review the security arrangement for Marcoleta. He said they will also further tighten the screening of individuals seeking to visit the hospitalized senator.
Actually, nire-restrict nga natin kasi nga may pneumonia. Kasi syempre, sinasabi nga natin, bababa na yung immune system niya, kaya nililimitahan natin yung visitors niya at the same time yung tagal ng pagbisita doon sa kwarto niya, doon kay Senator Marcoleta. So as not to endanger or mapalala pa yung kanilang kondisyon.
In recent days, Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Robin Padilla visited Senator Marcoleta at the hospital.
Again, the CIDG ay nire-restrict, kinoconsider yung medical condition ni Senator Marcoleta, yung ni-request lang personally ni Senator Marcoleta na bumisita. Sa dinami-dami, dalawa lang yung pinayagan at sila lang yung pumasok sa loob, walang entourage or anything else. Same thing sa dinami-dami na gustong bumisita ng mga friends, allies, supporters ni Senator Marcoleta, dalawa pa rin yung pinayagan ng CIDG up to this point in time. Okay? So restriction is ginagawa natin.
Giagi said he has no knowledge of which supposed close associate of the senator sought permission for a certain individual who was seen in a video speaking without a face mask. Meanwhile, he said the CIDG is ready at any time to escort the senator to the Sandigan Bayan once he is given medical clearance by his doctors. Ryan Lisiges for The Nation.
The admission by the PNP's Health Service of Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Robin Hood Padilla entering Senator Rodante Marcoleta's ward sans the cover of face masks during their visits contradicts an earlier statement by the PNP NCR CIDG chief who let them in with faces covered. Marcoleta's health condition is dicey as he deals with hypertension, a high incidence of bad cholesterol, and the even more worrisome bout with mild pneumonia that could kill him more than the other two. Our Rod Lagusad has more details in this report.
The Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division questioned why visits to Senator Rodante Marcoleta were allowed following the separate visits of Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Robin Padilla. This was despite the recommendation of the PNP General Hospital that the senator should remain in isolation due to his mild pneumonia. According to the court, they do not object to the senator receiving visitors, but they are concerned about his health condition. Marcoleta remains at the PNP General Hospital following the issuance of a warrant of arrest against him in connection with the plunder case. According to PNP CIDG and CR Chief Police Colonel Jan Giagi, the CIDG is assigned to ensure Marcoleta's security and custody. He said only a limited number of visitors are allowed, including his immediate family members and lawyers. He said that 2 visits were allowed, and for the reason for their visits,
Yun yung request mismo ni Senator Marcoleta and his family. We don't know, hanggang sa labas lang naman kami. And limited lang na, siya lang naman, tsaka si Senator Robin Padilla.
he added that many other requests to visit were denied. According to the PNP-CIDG, they will comply with the court's directive to strictly limit the visits. When asked whether the visitors wore face masks,
Doon sa pagpasok naman nila, may face mask na yung pagpasok nila. Sa labas lang naman yung walang face mask.
this, however, contradicts the statement of PNP Health Service Director Police Brigadier General Portia Manalad when she was asked about the Vice President Sara Duterte's visit.
During that time, I believe wala.
Manalad apologized to the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division following the failure to require the wearing of face masks during the visit to Marcoleta.
I'm just saying about the lapses that we forgot to say na kailangan nakapasa sila because of the condition of the senator. Yun lang yung hiningi ko ng apologize kasi yun lang ang COVID ko.
Meanwhile, according to Police Lieutenant Colonel Belani Bayani, Chief of Internal Medicine Department of the PNP General Hospital, Marcoleta is now fit to travel and fit to appear before the court. This came after the court asked about Marcoleta's current condition, during which Bayani recommended that he wear a face mask when appearing in court. She said he is currently on the 2nd day of his antibiotic treatment for mild pneumonia. When asked by the court when he could be brought to court, Bayani explained that it could be on July 15 after he completes 7 days of antibiotic treatment. Following this, the court ordered the submission of Marcoleta's daily notarized medical reports. The court also directed a representative from UPPGH to conduct a medical examination of Marcoleta within 3 days and to submit the findings to the court within the 3 days. At the same time, the Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division approved the consolidation of the case for violation of Presidential Decree No. 46, or the acceptance of gifts by a public official from the Sandigan Bayan 6th Division, in which Marcoleta and businessman Joseph Espiritu are accused, with the plunder case being handled by the 3rd Division. In the plunder case, former Representative Mike Defensor and businessman Aristotle Veray are the co-accused of Marcoleta and Espiritu. Meanwhile, the Sandigan Bayan 5th Division is handling his graft case, including a non-bailable plunder charge. According to the court, the request of the accused for temporary leave from detention cannot be considered an emergency or a sufficient ground to grant his request. While an impeachment trial is of paramount constitutional importance, the court said this alone is not a sufficient basis to approve Estrada's request. According to the court, allowing Estrada to attend the impeachment trial would require his repeated release from detention 3 times a week. According to the court, allowing Estrada to attend the impeachment trial would be virtually the same as treating him as a free man, enjoying all the privileges attached to his position. The court added that such arrangement would make a mockery of the purpose of preventive detention and undermines the very concept of lawful detention. Rod Lagusad for The Nation.
The National Historical Commission of the Philippines, or NHCP, has rejected recent claims by Chinese scholars that the Batanes Islands are part of China, asserting that extensive historical documentation confirms the province has been an integral part of Philippine territory for centuries. Patrick De Jesus tells the full report.
The National Historical Commission of the Philippines outlined key historical facts to assert that Batanes belongs solely to the Philippines. This was the agency's condemnation of the claim made by some Chinese scholars during a symposium that the Batan Islands are part of China as a natural geographical extension of Taiwan. The NHCP said the earliest extensive documentation of Batanes by a British explorer dates back to 1687. Which shows no trace of Chinese governance in the area, while the Ivatan people lived in protected communities and traded with other maritime trading nations. Beginning in 1783, during the Spanish colonial period, Batanes has continuously been recognized as part of Philippine territory. This was further affirmed during the 1896 Philippine Revolution and the First Philippine Republic, when the Ivatans stood up for the Philippines' independence from Spanish colonial rule. The NHCP also rejected the argument of the Chinese scholars that Japan should have returned Batanes to China after World War II, stating that the province has always been part of the Philippines and that its people also fought to liberate themselves from Japanese rule in 1945. As of this time, the Chinese embassy has yet to respond on whether the Chinese government supports the statements made by the Chinese scholars. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. said the government will continue to counter false information.
Kailangan siguro ang pagpasagutin natin dito ay si Secretary Herbosa. Dahil mukhang matindi yung tama ng mga gumawa nun. Ganyan nag-uumpisa ang kanilang mga gawain sa false narrative. No? Ganun ang partido nila. So, seryosohin natin to.
A civic society group also warned against attempts to distort historical facts. Dr. Jose Antonio Goitia of the Alyansa ng Bantay sa Kapayapaan at Demokrasya commended the government's swift response to the Batanes issue in defending the rights and integrity of the Philippines. Meanwhile, Secretary Teodoro Jr. visited Masinloc, Zambales as part of the commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the Philippines' arbitral victory in the West Philippine Sea. He also led the distribution of assistance to fisherfolk in the area. The defense chief assured them of the government's continued protection of Scarborough Shoal, also known as Bajo de Masinloc, where a security arrangement is currently being developed.
Anong trabaho pa natin kung hindi i-secure yung territorial integrity and security ng ating republika? So kasama ito ng lahat ng mga areas natin.
Apart from the West Philippine Sea, the government is also monitoring the country's other maritime territories under its 360-degree approach. Patrick De Jesus for The Nation.
During a Senate hearing concerning the tragic drowning of two Ateneo student athletes, officials addressed a discrepancy in the victims' recorded time of death. The university's leadership condemned cyberbullying, and lawmakers urged the Department of Education to prioritize the deployment of school counselors in areas with the highest incidence of bullying. Bernard Ferrer tells us more.
Police are investigating the alleged discrepancy in the time of death of Rene Baterbonia, one of two Ateneo de Manila University student athletes who drowned during a team building activity in the Bacolao, Aurora on June 8. During a hearing of the Senate Committee on Basic Education, police investigators revealed that Baterbonia was recovered at around 3:40 p.m. However, his death certificate states that the time of death was 3:33 p.m. According to the police, they are currently clarifying the discrepancy through the statements of the responding medical personnel, hospital records, and the explanation of the physician who certified the time of death.
We do not intend to speculate on this discrepancy until the relevant records and witnesses have been completely evaluated.
So sa hospital records say 3:33 p.m. but in your investigation it's closer to 4 p.m. Yun yung discrepancy.
On the discrepancy with regard to the as reflected in the death certificate, sir.
During the same hearing, Ateneo President Reverend Father Roberto Yap became emotional as he once again apologized to the families of Baterbonia and Divine Adili. Yap also condemned the alleged cyberbullying being experienced by the surviving student athletes following the tragedy.
We unequivocally condemn these acts because they only deepen the pain of those already grieving by spreading disinformation and causing further harm. Our support for those affected does not diminish our commitment to care for every member of our community while the legal processes are ongoing. Beyond the legal and regulatory processes, our objective is to understand what happened, learn from this tragedy, and strengthen the systems.
He also shared the measures taken by Ateneo to support the families of the victims, including visiting the wake, holding memorial masses, arranging the transport of the remains, and providing other logistical and pastoral support. Meanwhile, Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian called on the Department of Education to prioritize areas with the highest incident of bullying in the hiring and deployment of the School Counselor Associate 1 positions. The appeal followed the Civil Service Commission's release of the qualification standards for the position, which was created under the Basic Education Mental Health and Well-Being Promotion Act, or Republic Act number 12080, to address the shortage of guidance counselors and strengthen the implementation of school-based mental health programs. Based on a study by the Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM2, Region 13 and Memorapa recorded the highest incidence of bullying, followed by Region 7, 5, and Region 1. Under the 2026 national budget, 2 billion pesos has been allocated for the hiring of 10,000 school counselor associate 1 positions nationwide. Bernard Fidet for The Nation.
Amidst alarming reports that over 60% of Filipino students continue to face harassment in school, a new legislative proposal seeks to strengthen the decade
Her fear are not without reason. She said her child had allegedly experienced bullying before, an experience she never wants to happen again.
Minsan ayaw niyang pumasok. Mama, ayaw kong pumasok, mama. Nagtataka po kami bakit ayaw niyang pumasok. Yung pala, meron pong nambubuli sa kanya.
Based on data from the Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, 65% of Filipino students have experienced various forms of bullying. In 2022, 43% of female students and 53% of male students reported experiencing bullying several times within a month. That is why Sherna welcomes efforts to strengthen the Anti-Bullying Act.
Natutuwa po kami na kung hihigpitan po nila sa pagsasaklaw ng batas na yan. Dahil halos kadalasan po kasi ngayon mga minor de edad po ang nangyayari na may mga bullying at saka hindi lang po doon, umaabot din po sa patayan.
Under House Bill number 10038, or the Expanded Anti-Bullying Act, filed by Ulat Bayan Party List Representative Chel Jokno, the coverage of the law will be expanded beyond elementary and secondary schools to include higher education and technical vocational institutions. The bill also broadens the definition of bullying to include acts of humiliation, social exclusion, and discrimination based on religion, sex, beliefs, and other personal characteristics. Schools will also be required to establish student support teams, provide mental health referrals when necessary, and conduct annual training for teachers and other school personnel. Jokno maintained that more than a decade after the passage of the Anti-Bullying Act, thousands of schools have yet to fully comply with the law's required anti-bullying policies, one of the reasons behind the proposed measure. If enacted into law, the measure will not only strengthen the existing Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, but also create a safer learning environment through a standardized complaint mechanism and administrative sanctions for those found violating the law. Sheila Natividad for The Nation.
The president has vast powers, to include the capacity to issue plenary orders that redefine the tasks and duties of an otherwise defunct agency he himself canceled at the onset of his administration. So former DILG Chief Benhur Abalos has been named Secretary of the Cabinet, whose primary task is to keep all agencies honest in their work accomplishments and timelines, as well as keep the president up to speed. Our Kenneth Paciente has more.
After being appointed as Cabinet Secretary, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has given a clear directive to Cabinet Secretary Benhur Abalos, ensure that every Filipino feels the impact of the government's programs.
Ito po ang ibinigay sa kanya dahil makikita niyo naman po na ang tiwala ng Pangulo kay Capsec Benhur Abalos ay buong-buo. At kaya itong function na ito ang ibinigay sa kanya para mas mapalawak pa ng Pangulo ang pagsisilbi at makakaikot si Capsec Benhur Abalos sa bawat rehiyon para mas maramdaman nga ng bawat kababayan natin ang tulong.
The palace said Abalos will have a different role from that of cabinet members, as well as a special assistant to the President Anton Lagdameo.
Sa tulong po ni Secretary Benhur Abalos, mas marami pang mapupuntahan na maaaring hindi napuntahan ng Pangulo pero dahil nandiyan na po si Secretary Benhur Abalos, mas mararating niya pa ang ibang lugar. At i-represent niya po ang Pangulo.
The palace also clarified that Abalos' position is new, saying it is the President's way of redefining the role of the Cabinet Secretary in line with his authority to reorganize the executive branch. However, Malacanang emphasized that there is no need for the President to issue an executive order to reconstitute the office of the Cabinet Secretary because Abalos' mandate is different from that of the former office, which had already been abolished.
According sa Office of the Executive Secretary, hindi kailangan na executive order dahil po ang ginawa lamang po ng Pangulo ay in-exercise niya ang kanyang plenary power to appoint.
The office of the Cabinet Secretary was abolished under Executive Order No. 1 signed by the President in June 2022. Under the order, the Cabinet Secretariat was placed under the supervision of the Presidential Management Staff. In June 2022, Abalos was appointed Secretary of the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG. He resigned from the post in October 2024 to run for a Senate seat under the Marcos administration's coalition in the 2025 elections. Kenneth Pasyente for The Nation.
Consumers, another reason to tighten our belts as Meralco announced an increase in electricity rates for July. The increase will add over 34 centavos per kilowatt hour to bills. With this, an increase of over 14 pesos is expected for typical households or families. While those consuming 200 kilowatt per hour will see an additional 69 peso charge this month. Cited factors to this hike is the rise in generation charges due to higher fuel costs. While transmission charges have also increased, the collection of the Green Energy Auction Allowance remains suspended until August, as ordered by the Energy Regulatory Commission or ERC. Tighten your belts as well as domestic fuel prices are expected to drive high next week. Diesel is expected to increase by 2 pesos to 4 pesos per liter, according to Jetty Petroleum President Leo Bellas. Gasoline prices, meanwhile, may see a minor rollback or a slight increase of up to 1 peso per liter. Bellas attributed the anticipated hikes to tight global supply, including the potential loss of Russian diesel exports and increased demand during the Northern Hemisphere's summer season. Another cited factor includes the escalation of military conflicts between the U.S. and Iran amid intensified concerns over global supply disruptions, which puts upward pressure on international oil prices. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Customs continues to maintain strict surveillance against attempts to smuggle illegal cargo into the country. According to Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno, the agency has seized more than 40 billion pesos worth of illegal shipments since July 2026. He said the continuing operations have been successful due to the cooperation and support of various government agencies, including the NBI, PNP, CIDG, and the AFP. Meanwhile, among the reforms being pushed within the Bureau of Customs is the implementation of a one-strike policy, under which personnel found guilty of misconduct will summarily be sanctioned. The agency is also advancing the modernization of its documentation and processes to help reduce corruption, improve revenue collection, and promote good governance. And the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, has received the Philippines Digital Initiative of the Year Finance Award at the Gov Media Conference and Awards held in Singapore. The recognition was conferred on account of its 2026 interactive digital tax calendar, which makes tax deadlines, filing requirements, and compliance information more accessible to taxpayers. BIR Commissioner Charlito Mendoza said the award reflects the agency's commitment to improving public service to digital innovation. The Bureau added it will continue to develop modern digital tools to simplify tax compliance and support the government's digital transformation efforts. Coming up, Catherine Bernardo fans should definitely be celebrating with what we have for you next. All this after some reminders. Stay tuned.
Exactly what the Constitution requires. On the first article of impeachment, the evidence will show that more than 612 million pesos in confidential fund entrusted to the office of the Vice President and the Department of Education were disbursed, transferred, and liquidated under circumstances that cannot withstand scrutiny. On the second article of impeachment, the evidence will show financial transactions involving billions of pesos associated with the respondent and her husband. On the third article of impeachment, the evidence will show bribery, graft, and corruption through the distribution of cash payments and monetary gifts to officials under the supervision of the respondent. The evidence will show culpable violation of the Constitution, high crime, betrayal of public trust through conduct that threatens constitutional order.
For our next food crawl.
Very comforting. It's very perfect, especially now that it's rainy season. If you're like new to Myanmar cuisine, you should try this one.
Tara na sa another Chibugan. Kasama ang certified foodie na si Leslie Ordinario.
May toyo, tapos may itlog, tapos may butter, tapos matamis. Di ko maintindihan. Try it. Yes. You have to try it.
Ngayong linggo, alas 10:30 ng umaga.
Gusto ko yung sinipa, agad ako ng anghang.
Dito lang sa PTV. Sa harap ng sambayanan, subaybayan ang mahalagang paglilitis sa pangalawang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. The Impeachment Trial, katotohanan, pananagutan, katarungan. Isang special coverage hatid ng inyo, People's Television. Matutunghayan live mula sa Senate Plenary Hall. At hihimayin ang mga pangyayari upang higit na maunawaan ang proseso ng impeachment. Panoorin sa Free TV at sa lahat ng aming digital platforms. Tutukan ang bawat pagdinig, pakinggan ang bawat pahayag sa ngalan ng katotohanan, pananagutan at katarungan. Dito sa inyo, PTV. Tara, lumikha! Kids, alam nyo ba na ang July ay National Nutrition Month? Kaya naman, exciting food-themed projects ang aming ihahain. Tulad nitong Fuzzy Wire Hair Clips, isang colorful fruit bowl drawing, at gagamit tayo ng iba't ibang prutas at gulay para gumawa ng makulay na mga stamp. Sini ang magniningning dito sa
Artsy Craftsy! Paalam!
Artsy Craftsy, Sabado, alas 10:30 ng umaga. Dito lang sa inyong People's Television. Ano nga ba ang impeachment? Ang impeachment ay isang proseso sa ilalim ng 1987 Constitution upang panagutin ang pinakamatataas na opisyal ng gobyerno kung sila ay lumabag sa tiwala ng taong bayan. Nagsisimula ito sa pag-file ng isang impeachment complaint na sa kalaunan ay maaaring humantong sa isang trial. Kabilang sa mga impeachable official ang presidente, vice-presidente, mga mahistrado ng Korte Suprema, mga miyembro ng Constitutional Commission at ang Ombudsman. Maaari silang sampahan ng reklamo batay sa mga dahilan o grounds na paglabag sa konstitusyon, pagtataksil, panunuhol o pagtanggap ng suhol, korupsyon, mabibigat na krimen at ang pagtataksil sa tiwala ng bayan. Ang impeachment ay naiiba sa simpleng kaso sa korte dahil itinakda ito ng konstitusyon upang panatilihin ang katotohanan at katarungan at tiyakin na may pananagutan ang mga pinakamatataas na opisyal ng bayan.
International Criminal Court, or ICC, announced the cancellation of the status conference for former President Rodrigo Duterte, which was originally scheduled for July 14. Trial Chamber 3 announced that the decision was made after parties and participants indicated there are no specific matters requiring the court's attention at this stage of the proceedings. Despite this cancellation, the procedural schedule remains unchanged. The next status conference is set for September 16, and the trial is still expected to commence on November 30. Duterte remains in ICC custody in connection with alleged crimes against humanity linked to the anti-illegal drugs campaign conducted during his administration from November 2011 to March 2019. The 5 Abukuma-class destroyer escort ships to be transferred to Philippine possession are free of charge, care of Japan's kindness. Still, the Philippine government will have to pick up the tab for logistical support costs to include the transfer of all vessels to the country, training crews, and systems integration into the Philippine Navy and the Department of National Defense. So says D&D Chief Gilberto Teodoro Jr., who also added discussions are in progress on the physical transfer of the ships above anything. Likewise, Teodoro said the Philippine government has no timeline set for this turnover. Defense Chief Teodoro also hinted of more watercrafts or vessels headed to the Philippines as part of the government's aggressive pursuit of its military modernization program. No can do. So said the Sandigan Bayan in its ruling on Senator Alan Peter Cayetano's plea to let colleague Senator Jinggoy Estrada physically attend the Vice President's impeachment trial proceedings 3 times in a week. As such, former Senate Blue Ribbon Chair Panfilo Lacson said the requests for Marcoleta and Estrada to physically join and observe the proceedings should be rendered moot, given the Sandigan Bayan's ruling earlier on Senator Jinggoy's entreaty. Then again, this proposal would still be taken up in the plenary, so nothing is set in stone as of yet. And Senator Lacson contends his take on the matter is his own opinion. Clearly, the minority bloc seeks to have as many members able to vote, not only in the final ruling to acquit or convict, but also in very contentious matters like opening the sealed BIR box containing more of the Vice President's financial documents. Senator Risa Ontiveros is calling on the Energy Regulatory Commission, or ERC, to implement a temporary disconnection freeze for Meralco customers involving in legitimate billing disputes, particularly those involved in alleged erroneous meter readings. In response to concerns over unusually high electricity bills, Senator Ontiveros argued that it is unfair for consumers to be forced to pay disputed amounts simply to keep their power service active. In a reported case, a household was billed for electricity consumption despite having switched off breakers during a family vacation, which was later acknowledged by Meralco that the bill resulted from a meter reader's error. Senator Ontiveros questioned the ERC's advice for those with bill disputes to still pay to avoid disconnection while complaints are being investigated. The senator plans to file a resolution directing the Senate Committee on Energy to investigate these cases, review current consumer protection mechanisms, and pursue legislative reforms to prevent unjust billing practices. The prosecution presented Article 4 of the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte, focusing on the alleged grave threats and assassination plot against top government officials. Using video evidence, testimonies, and documents, the prosecution aimed to show her statements were a serious threat. Meanwhile, experts who followed the hearing shared different views, with some saying the issue involves not only legal matters, but also the responsibility and conduct expected from all public officials. And the news continues with more stories, only here on PTV News Tonight. Don't move a muscle.
Disaster Watch. Mga paalala pagkatapos ng lindol. Suriin ang iyong sarili at mga kasama kung may tinamong pinsala. Magbigay ng paunang lunas kung kailangan. Unahin ang mga pangangailangan ng mga matatanda, buntis, may kapansanan at mga bata. Kung nasa tabing dagat at may banta ng tsunami, agad na lumikas papunta sa ligtas at mataas na lugar. Suriin kung may natapong nakalalasong kemikal at mga bagay na maaaring pagmulan ng sunog. Patayin ang main switch ng tubig at kuryente, pati na rin ang tangke ng gas o LPG. Huwag bumalik sa loob ng gusali hanggat walang abiso na ligtas na ito. Sa panahon ng sakuna, dapat laging listo.
Dapat harapin natin kung ano yung nararapat para masolusyonan kung ano yung dapat na pananagutan natin sa taong bayan.
Consumer Watch. Mga praktikal na paraan sa pagtitipid ng gasolina. Alam nyo ba na ang regular maintenance ng sasakyan ay makakatipid ng 2,000 hanggang 5,000 piso ng inyong gasoline budget kada buwan? Kaya para todo tipid, laging i-check ang air filter, spark plug, at fuel injector ng sasakyan. Siguruhing tama ang engine oil na ginagamit at panatilihin ang tamang pressure ng mga gulong. Practice good driving habits din. Gamitin ang GPS navigation apps para makaiwas sa traffic. Mag-carpooling. Pagsamahin sa iisang trip ang mga lakad at delivery. At lumabas kapag off-peak hours tuwing mas kaunti ang sasakyan sa daan. Bawasan ang karga o load ang inyong sasakyan. Iwasan ang agresibong pagmamaneho at bigla ang pagpreno at ang labis na pag-aarangkada. At gamitin ang cruise control feature tuwing magbabiyahe ng mahaba sa highway. Sa panahong kailangan magtipid, maging bahagi ng solusyon at sama-sama tayong umaksyon. Dapat laging listo.
Simula na ng paglilitis. Haharapin na ang mga tanong ng taong bayan.
Mahalaga ang pakikinig, lalo na sa mga usapin patungkol sa pamamahala sa ating bayan.
Susubaybay talaga ako niyan.
Siyempre, taong bayan tayo, kailangan nating makita yung katotohanan.
Even though na meron kang posisyon sa isang gobyerno,
Sana harapin ng akusado ang impeachment na mayroong katapatan.
kung talaga namang mayroong ebidensya, nararapat na managot.
Dapat sila yung halimbawa ng maayos na pamumuno para maging maayos ang bansang Pilipinas.
Subaybayan ang live coverage ng The Impeachment Trial on air at sa digital platforms. Dito lang sa inyong People's Television. PTV Consumer Watch. Bantay presyo sa gasolina.
Monitoring continues across the Cordillera region as the Cordillera Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council remains under blue alert status, this due to the threat of Typhoon Inday. Local government units are also on standby, while authorities are closely watching major roads for possible landslides and other hazards. The Mines and Geosciences Bureau has temporarily suspended mining operations as a precaution, while the Department of Social Welfare and Development Cordillera has pre-positioned resources and readied evacuation centers in coordination with local governments. As of now, no damage has been reported in the region. Aiming to further develop the textile industry and weaving culture in Mindanao, the country's first regional yarn production and innovation center has opened in Cabacan, Cotabato. The facility was established by the Department of Science and Technology Philippine Textile Research Institute in partnership with the University of Southern Mindanao and other agencies. The center targets to produce 50 to 70 kilograms of quality yarn daily with an estimated annual economic value of up to 70 million pesos. According to the DOST PTRI, the project aims to address the limited yarn supply in the country and support local weavers. Cacao from the Davao region continues to gain recognition in the global market as a cooperative in Kapalong, Davao del Norte successfully exported premium fermented cacao beans to New Zealand. The export was made possible through the support of government agencies, including the Agriculture Department and the Department of Trade and Industry, which provided technical assistance, quality assurance, and market linkages. The DTI said it will continue to promote Davao cacao despite limited production, highlighting its high quality and competitiveness in the international market. Programs are also being implemented to further support local cacao farmers and strengthen the industry. Well, I'll give you the latest buzz here at Pop Culture Corner. First up, actress Catherine Bernardo has reached another career milestone with the unveiling of her wax figure at Madame Tussauds, Hong Kong. Inspired by her look at the 2023 Seoul International Drama Awards, the figure honors her achievements in the entertainment industry. Bernardo expressed gratitude for being included among distinguished Filipino personalities featured at the world-renowned Wax Museum. The wax figure is on display at Madame Tussauds, Hong Kong, where fans and visitors can view it alongside other internationally recognized figures. Actress and singer Kai Montanola performed the Filipino version of How Far I'll Go, titled Hangganan Ko, live for the first time during the Philippine premiere of Disney's live-action Moana. She expressed gratitude for being chosen by Disney to perform the song, calling it a dream come true as a longtime Disney fan. Kai also shared that how she relates to Moana's journey of pursuing her dreams, reflecting her own path from Cebu to the entertainment industry. Disney's live-action Moana is now showing in cinemas nationwide. Lionsgate has officially launched a global casting search for the lead roles in its live-action adaptation of Naruto. Director Destin Daniel Cretton is searching for actors to portray Team 7 members Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Naruto creator Masashi Kishimoto expressed excitement about seeing his iconic characters brought to life on the big screen. The film marks the first live-action Hollywood adaptation of the globally popular manga and anime series. San Miguel Beerman star Junmar Fajardo remains the front-runner for the PBA Season 50 Most Valuable Player Award after two conferences. The 6'10" star posted 29.8 statistical points after leading the Beermen to a successful Philippine Cup title defense. With a strong campaign, Fajardo is in position to capture a record-extending 10th PBA Most Valuable Player Award. NLEX Road Warrior standout Robert Bolick ranks second with 26.7 statistical points, while Converge Fiber Xers Juan Gomez de Liano sits third and also leads the Rookie of the Year race. Magnolia's Xavier Lucero and Converge's Justin Baltazar round out the top 5 of the MVP standings. Also making it to the top 10 MVP race are RJ Abarrientos, Scotty Thompson, CJ Perez, Joshua Munzon, and Justin Arana. The race for the PBA's highest individual honor is set to intensify as the Governor's Cup, the final conference of Season 50, gets underway this Friday. Following her historic Wimbledon campaign, Filipino tennis star Alex Ayala will take a brief break before shifting her focus to the North American Hard Court Tour. Coming off a breakthrough grass court campaign, the world number 28 will return to action at the Mubadala DC Open in Washington, D.C. The WTA 500 tournament will mark the start of Ayala's North American Hard Court campaign as she builds towards the year's final Grand Slam, the U.S. Open. Ayala is expected to face a strong field featuring some of the WTA's tour's biggest names, including world number 8 Elina Svitolina, world number 13 Marta Kostyuk, 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, and rising American star Eva Jovic. After her Washington campaign, Ayala will head to Toronto to compete in the National Bank Open as part of her preparation for the U.S. Open. The Filipino star enters the hard court swing with momentum after her historic Wimbledon run, where she became the first Filipino singles player to reach the 4th round of the prestigious Grand Slam. As of 4 p.m. today, the center of the eye of Typhoon Inday with international name Bavi was seen 525 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, Batanes, with maximum sustained winds of 140 kilometers per hour near the center and a gustiness of up to 170 kilometers per hour. It is moving north-northwestward at 20 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, southwest monsoon is affecting central and southern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. While Batanes may expect stormy weather, the Cordillera Administrative Region, Ilocos Norte, Cagayan, and Isabela may experience rains with gusty winds. And Metro Manila, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, the Negros Island region, Zambales, Bataan, Cavite, and Batangas may encounter occasional rains. While the rest of the Ilocos region, the rest of Cagayan Valley, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Zamboanga Peninsula, the Barm, Socsargen, the rest of Luzon, and the rest of Visayas may be affected by cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms. Now, the rest of Mindanao may also expect partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. And our food for thought tonight comes from Adi Aliwat, a Filipino author who writes on work ethic, character, and personal excellence, emphasizing the value of purposeful and disciplined living. And she says, "Good work is done with dignity, and there is no dignity in rushing." This is very timely for people that live such a busy life. You know, sometimes we do things without thinking. You know, we go on, I would say, default mode, where we just rush through our day without even realizing what it is that we do. I think this is a reminder for all of us to take time to smell the flowers, enjoy the coffee, enjoy our relationships, and enjoy our day-to-day experiences, because you never know when time's up. Now, before we end our newscast, please do take the time to like, subscribe, or share PTV's social media pages flashing on your screen right about now. It would go a long way, and we would truly appreciate it. And so goes PTV News Tonight's roundup of tomorrow's headline stories. I'm Sharms Espina. Join us again next week on PTV News Tonight. Have a great weekend.